So good morning everybody and a very warm welcome to Mildenhall and Volmer, and today the theme is Berringer Let's Go Bananas Part 3. Now the reason for this video is basically many years ago. This is like a follow-on video from a video that I did years ago at Berringer and Districts when I first had my original layouts, hence why it's called Let's Go Bananas Part 3, because the original two parts were done when I had my original layout at Berringer, and this is more like a follow-on video from that, and it's all to do with my network rail project, which those of you who've been following me on Facebook would have noticed that I've been doing some bits and pieces on some of my coaches and getting some of them rebranded up. So I thought I'd show you how far I got with those, and also just to have a little quick brief discussion about them. Now, a lot of manufacturers in their wisdom bring out locomotives, but they don't necessarily bring out the rolling stock that goes with them. Maybe not straight away, or they bring them out later. And when you I namely think of like the Dapol 68, for example, where you've got the Transpennine Dapol 68 and you can't really run them with anything. Even the Chiltern 68 from Dapol, nobody's ever thought about making coaches for them, and people have to go out of their way to make their own coaches. And the Transpennine, there's absolutely nothing to go, there's no coaches to go with it, so you're kind of forced to wait for some manufacturer to make these coaches to go with your 68. Hornby have done the same with the network rail. Now, the official network rail stuff is the HST new measurement train, and you can get coaches for that, and you can get a full set for that if you've got it. However, they brought out the 73, and they also brought out the 31 in network rail, and the 37, which is rebadged as a 97. But there is no coaches for it, absolutely nothing. And there was a few made by Bachmann. There was a few exclusives made here and there by Bachmann. And if you trawl eBay or something somewhere like that to try and get hold of these coaches, they go for absolutely astronomical prices, and it's just literally horrendous. I was looking for a coach the other day on there, and it was like about £84, £85. So what do you do in these kind of circumstances? And I bought my new coule 37, which I'll just bring into shot actually. There you go. So that's just coming round, and that'll be with us very shortly. And what can you run with this coule 37 if you don't have these Mark II coaches? Now, there is an option, at least with the coule 37, in terms of, it's just coming into shot now, here it is. At least with the coule 37, they do top and tail them in Cardiff to Rimini, and they tend to use the Intercity Mark II, so you can still use, at least you can use the Hornby Mark IIs to go with them, and you can sort of recreate that. But if you're not from that area, and you want to use these coule 37s, they tend to be used on the test trains and things like that with network rail. The coule 70s tend to be running with just sort of like all sorts of engineers' wagons and also aggregate wagons and things like that. They tend not to be used on test trains. The 56s by coalesce, they tend to be used on the railhead treatment train, which at least you can get that. I think Pattons have produced a second batch, so you can use those. But even so, the coalesce 56 is quite difficult to get hold of now. I have tried. But with the 37s, they tend to be specifically used on these kind of test trains with these Mark II coaches. And the reason why I'm sort of doing a follow-on video with these coaches is because I've rebadged and rebranded a few more, a couple more in fact. I've got another one to do which I'll show you, and I just wanted to show you a couple of the differences that I've learnt since doing the first batch to doing the second batch. So without further ado, before we get onto that, actually I've got something new to show you. I was in my local model shop yesterday, and I finally got myself, after oohing and ahhing, one of these, which is a track cleaning train. So I thought, well, I guess it's to do with Network Rail and keeping the track clean, and I tend to use a rubber, but I thought it might be quite a useful idea. Now I've got a circuit layout to have a specific wagon for it. So I've bought this, and I haven't quite used it yet because I've been continuing working on my little Network Rail project. So that's something new to the layout, so that kind of goes with the Let's Go Banana theme. And also I'm going to show you the paint that I've used. Now the paint is readily available, but what I have learnt, and I'll show you, is that there's a colour variation depending on the primer you use. Now on the first batch I used, I basically used, when I did the grey roof, I had the grey primer. So I just sprayed the whole lot grey. And it's not until I've done this second batch that I've really noticed the difference, because I didn't have the grey primer on the second batch. I had the white, and I used the white, and when I used the white, because I didn't have to redo because I masked off the roof, the yellow really pinged, and you could probably tell the difference, because if you see this coach here, that's the first batch and that's the second one, and you can see, and even if you look at the whole train, and I'll pull it forward just a touch more, you can see that actually the two middle coaches stand out more than the two end coaches. Now, and that's basically down to the fact that of the primer, it's got nothing else, because the paint I used was actually exactly the same. The paint I used was there you go, a TS34 by Tanya. It's exactly the same paint, and I know that because I couldn't quite remember, and I followed my old video, which I will put on the link on this one. I'll also put a link to a couple of other videos to do with Network Rail test trains, and there was one put up last night by Chris Eve, and based on that video alone I remodified one of my older coaches, which is this one here, and I will show you that very shortly in more closer detail. So I'm going to spin you around and we're going to take a closer look at these coaches, and I'll show you exactly, like I said, I'm not going to show you how to open them, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave a link in the description below. So if any of you, these are all Lima coaches, and basically they are a pain in the neck to get into. And when I first tried to get into them and I looked on YouTube, there wasn't a single video to tell me or show me how to get into these things. And basically what I've done in that video is I've showed you exactly how to get into them. Now, even if you don't want to do the Network Rail repaint, but you do have some old Lima coaches that you might like to repaint into a different livery, then it's still a useful video to watch, because it will at least show you how to get into them, and then obviously you can take the rest for what it is. So that's kind of the thing. Now I've got one more project to do. I've got one more coach. So I've got 4 plus a GUV, so this is the GUV. Oops, I've just pulled out. That was very clever of me. So I've just pulled out this GUV. Now, Model Zone did make a GUV wagon for Network Rail, and if you look on Google Images, and what I'll do is I'll also put some stills at the end of the video so you can see. This is the only one that isn't quite right, because it is a GUV, but they've got shutters rather than doors. But this is something that I rebadged and redid myself. But all the others are pretty much faithful to what's around in terms of Mark II coaches. Now, to be truthful, I'm not 100% certain how they go together or what the certain trains are. I know like there's a few, like there's a structures train, and I think there's an ultrasonic train, and then there's all different types of network rail trains out there. So trying to get them into the right order. Now, yesterday I watched this video by Chris Eve, and like I said, I'll put it in the link below. And it was top and tailed with 237s. So I've got one, and I'm still going to get another one, even though I could probably use one of my other 37s, like my blue one, or something like that. Will probably go on top and tail, and that would probably work quite well. And he basically, that train that was running had this coach, which is why it's been reworked, because I readjusted this coach, and it had this coach here, and on the back of it had this coach. So this is my next project. So this is a green Dapol old Mark II coach, but the thing is about this one, it's a brake, and that's what it had. So I can actually complete a set just by redoing this one. So this is going to be my next project, is to rebrand and rebadge this one into yellow network rail, and then that will go as a complete test train with these two coaches plus this one on the back, and I'll have the other two coaches as spare to maybe make up another test train of a different description. I did have a look on rail tech transfers, and I couldn't find any transfers on there for network rail in terms of the actual various types of transfers for the various different types of Mark II coaches. They tend to sort of, the transfers they tend to have on there tend to be for renumbering of locos and coaches, and also the logos for network rail. Now I've got some logos to use spare, which I can do 3 coaches, which is fine, which is the 2 I haven't quite finished plus this one. But they are just literally the logos and numbers. But when you've got like the details, when they've got those kind of flashy liveries and stuff like that, where it says ultrasonic train, or whether it says it's a structures gauge train or whatever, or an inspection train, none of those, they don't seem to have it. So it might be a job for me to contact John over at Precision Decals and see what he can come up with, and see whether that is possible to do. Because otherwise, at the end of the day, all they're going to be doing is just badged up as network rail with the numbers, and that will be it. I'm sure I've seen some around, and because I'm sure I've seen some on a lot of people, because I did Google it and I did do some images, and a lot of people have repainted it, and I did see a couple, so you must be able to get them. I don't think it's like a release from Hornby or from Bachmann as part of their range of coaches to sort of have that. But I'm just making my own, because like I said, it's a lot cheaper, to be honest, to do it yourself, and it's not a difficult job, because it's just basically a plain yellow. So it's not that difficult to do. But like I said, if you are interested in it, that will be on my previous videos, which I'll put the link to in the description. So let me just run you through the train as things stand. These are just coaches that I've picked out, that I've decided to make out of the images and out of some of the footage that I've seen of the test trains running around on the British Railways. Now, this first coach here is quite interesting. The reason why it's interesting is because it was the first one that I did when I first started going through this project. Now, after watching a video last night by Chris Eve, I decided to redo this coach, and luckily for me, it only took about 5 minutes to redo it. Now, before, this coach had these sections here, these blanked out plates. Now these blanked out plates I got from a company, I can't remember who the company is, but it is on the video, on one of my previous videos, which I'll, like I said, put on the link in the description below. And it was actually free, 1, 2, 3, it was blanked out. But then I come across this video last night, and actually I decided to replicate the coach that was on the video last night using this coach. And it had 2 blanked out, 3 spaces, a blanked out, a white frosted one, and it also had a grille, which is what this is. And I'm going to zoom you into that grille. As you can see the ribbed grills. Now, for the grills, what I've done with the grills is you can get etched parts and things like that, but they tend to be quite difficult to get hold of or expensive. So I decided to get creative, and I'm just going to zoom you back out because I'm going to show you what I did. Now, Wills do their packs of sheeting. They do corrugated sheeting and all this kind of stuff. And I come across this clear plastic. Now, I've had this for some time and I've used it on other projects. And I thought that maybe I could possibly use this as a grill for my network rail train. And because it's just very fine plastic, you can just cut it with a pair of scissors. And I thought the effect, it might work out quite well as a nice effect. And if I zoom back into it, I think you agree, it's actually done quite a good effect in terms of creating a grill effect. So that's what I've decided to do, and give that a go. And I'm actually really pleased with that. So this coach was just redone last night. The other thing I did is, as you can see, if I just take it to the left, you can see that with these Lima coaches, the glazing is actually part of the roof. So this glazing is attached to the roof. So when you take the roof off, the glazing comes with it. So what I did is, because on the test train that I saw last night, this particular window was frosted over. So what I did is I had some white paint and I sprayed it from the inside on both sides to create this frosted glass look. So now I've replicated the coach that I saw last night. Now the only thing it does need is the orange cant rail, which if I take you to the next coach, you see that I've done the cant rail on the top, the orange line. That's what's missing on this one. But a lot of these coaches from Network Rail also had stuff like the bogies and axle boxes picked up. So all this detail here has all been picked out in various colours. And those are the colours based that I've seen on the Network Rail coaches images. So I didn't just randomly just paint the springs and paint the axle boxes and the battery boxes. These images actually showed that they had actually been picked out in real life. Also, the steps were also picked out, which is that. So that was also picked out. So that's also part of their thing. So I was looking at these images quite closely to see what I could do. If we go to the next coach along, the next coach on the right, this is one of the more recent ones I did. I only did this a couple of days, well, I finished it yesterday, this particular coach. It's not perfect, but it's good enough for me and I'm really happy with it, to be honest. And as you can see, there is a shade difference between the one on the right and the one on the left. And that's, even though I've used the exact same colour paint, which is the Tamiya colour TS34, the one on the left, I used the grey primer, so the yellow doesn't stand out so much. And so it's a lot brighter, the one on the right. Now again, this coach here on the right has had its first windows filled. And that also is replicated as part of some of the coaches that I've seen used on the test trains. I've still got the decals to put on it, the numbers and the Network Rail, and also the end coaching numbers, which I will show you quickly on the first coach. So as you can see on this first coach, I've also added the end bits, the warning flags and the data panel and the other bit there. So that's got the number, as you can see, it's got the network rail coach, and it's also got like the coach number on the end there. And that will be the same for this one when I get round to doing this one, but as you can see, I haven't quite done it all. But I have, like I said, I filled out the first window in a bit, which is like typical of some of the Mark II coaches that they've redone. I'm not exactly sure why they do it or the ins and outs of it, to be truthful, because I'm not really, I don't know the exact ins and outs of how test trains work and what they use them for exactly. I just know that there's various types, and I was just literally looking at the images from Google Images, and then also trying to replicate those coaches with these old Lima coaches that I've got. And again, the axle boxes, the springs were all picked out. The battery box is also picked out. It's got the count rail, and as you can see, like I said there, you've got the same again down at this end. Right, so in this coach, you can see that I've completely filled out all the windows. You might be able to see that you can still see the outlines of the windows from underneath, but that's okay, because actually on the real thing you can still sort of see that they're not perfect. So I'm quite happy with that. The count rail probably needs a bit of tidying up on the top, to be honest, which I might very well do today. But like I said, it's a representation of some of the coaches, the network rail coaches that are out there. So I think I might very well, just looking at it, I might just touch up the count rail, especially like here, there's a little bit that seems to. So I've got some yellow paint to sort of tidy that up. But again, this is another coach that's typically used as a network rail test train. I'm not exactly sure what they use this coach for, so like I said, if anyone asks in the comments, I don't really know, unless somebody can actually help me what they're using with. I am trying to see if I can find out a bit more about the train formations. But like I said, there's a couple of videos that I've been watching, which I'll, like I said, post in a link below, which are really, really useful and really, really helpful. And then on my last coach that I've done here, if I just move you across, this is the original coach that I've done, and I haven't touched this coach at all. All I've done with this coach is I've just simply rebranded it. It's literally just a paint job. So it was an original Intercity Mark II coach, and all I've done with this is just repaint it into yellow, put the transfers on and picked out the detail on the axle boxes and ends, and that was it. So I haven't done any filling or any modifications as such to this particular. But again, this coach is also used just like this on the network rail system, on the rail system around the UK. Like I said, I'm not exactly sure how they use these trains or how they combine these trains together, various coaches together. But again, it's something that I have here. Like I said, this isn't really a particularly difficult job. The most difficult job about this is part of it is actually getting into these Lima Mark IIs to begin with. So before we go, like I said, this concludes the end of the video, but before we go, what I'll do is I'll do a couple of test running shots of the 37 running around the layout once more. I'm quite lucky because I've got my 67, which I showed you on, I think, one of my running sessions the other day. So that was also being used as a test train, so you can also use that. If you've got DRS 67s, DRS 37s I should say, they also, prior to Colas taking over, they used to run those, so you can run those as well. So there are a few combos that you can do. Overall, it's been a pretty enjoyable project. I've done it, and it's like, yeah, I've quite enjoyed doing it. And it's like I said, it saves spending all that money on eBay, you know, because everyone wants them, and it's very popular on people's layouts in terms of that's what they want. But the actual coaches themselves are very difficult to get hold of, and they always go really expensive. So if you've got old Mark IIs, that's what these are. These are old Lima Mark IIs, which I've just rebadged and repainted. So if you are interested in doing anything like that, please look up one of my other videos, and like I said, I will endeavour to put all the links that you require into the description below, so you don't have to go trawling around for it, and then you can just get on and do it if you so wish. So until the next time, it's bye from Mildenhall and Volmer, and Berringer and Districts, Let's Go Bananas Part 3. So I'll leave you some running shots, and take care, and Merry Christmas.